For your listening pleasure, Airtime of the Geek.
Hello Ignition Radio listeners and welcome to Airtime of the Geek. It's Monday and it's 1pm GMT if you're listening live via our website or via TuneIn. If you're catching up on YouTube then please like and subscribe to this video and our channel. Comments, queries, suggestions, you can email me. It's paulab@ignitionradio.co.uk. You can also call the studio on 01642 329 620 or check out my website. It's airtimeofthegeek.xyz. It's January and we are taking a look back in time this week with a retrospective on what 2017 looked like in the movie Barbed Wire and celebrating some anniversaries. For this week's top 10, we are counting down my top 10 cartoons for grown-ups. Some of these shows were intended for kids, some were not intended for kids, and some were intended but really shouldn't have been. And some most certainly, you're a bad parent if you show your kids these cartoons. Just because it's a cartoon, it doesn't mean it's for children. So we're going to kick off with number 10, because it's always more fun for me to do it in reverse order. Number 10, Batman, The Killing Joke. This is not for kids. 2016 saw the release of Batman the Killing Joke, an animated adaptation of the Alan Moore graphic novel of the same name. The 26th animated film in the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, original movie series, which means all the cast from Batman the Animated Series returned to voice their characters. Cannot stress this enough. This is not for kids. No matter how big a Batman fan you think your kid is, it's not for kids. The Killing Joke is one of the most violent Batman stories to exist. In it, the Joker decides to torture the Gordon family. He does this by turning up at Commissioner Gordon's house, shooting Barbara Gordon through the spine, paralysing her. Unbeknownst to him, Barbara is actually Batgirl, and he has essentially killed Batgirl by removing Barbara's ability to walk, though he paves the way for her to become Oracle. Joker then removes Barbara's clothes and takes pictures of her nude body, which he later uses to torture Commissioner Gordon after he kidnaps him. Professional wizard Alan Moore had never intended the story from The Killing Joke to be anything more than a one-shot. However, the comic's popularity made DC decide to add it into the Batman main continuity. Long-time Joker voice actor Mark Hamill had previously announced his retirement from the role. However, he stated he would return if The Killing Joke was adapted, which he did. Following his disappointment with the adaptation, he has since changed his mind on the whole retirement thing and stated he would return to voice Joker again in the new Justice League animated series. If you're a Batman fan, it's a must-see. However, it does fall a little flat from the graphic novel, so don't get too hyped. It's a fairly faithful adaptation, but perhaps some things work on the written page better than they do on the screen. Hamill, of course, is a highlight, as is Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman. But once again, this is not for kids. Number 9, Tripping the Rift. There's probably bits of it kids would watch, but they wouldn't enjoy it. It's a bit weird, and there's a lot of stuff in it that I wouldn't personally feel comfortable with the children watching. Like, to be honest, this has largely become forgotten, but if you've not seen Tripping the Rift, it's really worth having a look into. Tripping the Rift was a CGI science fiction comedy television series. The universe is largely moulded after the Star Trek universe with references to warp drive and transporters, occasionally time travel, the Federation and Vulcans. The series also includes elements borrowed from other sources such as Star Wars, 2001: A Space Odyssey and Battlestar Galactica. The general setting is that known space is politically divided between two superpowers. The Confederation, led by humans, a parody of the Federation from Star Trek, and the Dark Clown Empire, a parody of the Galactic Empire from Star Wars. The Dark Clown Empire is a totalitarian, tyrannical police state led by the evil Darth Bobo. In contrast, the Confederation is technically a democratic free society, but in practice is dominated by megacorporations and bloated by bureaucrats. Ultimately, both superpowers end up exploiting and restricting their inhabitants, albeit in different ways. For example, the value placed on life is so commercialised in the Confederation that clearly sentient robots and androids are reduced to essentially slave status. The Dark Clown Empire practices actual slavery, and while the Confederation does not, most of its inhabitants, including the human ones, are openly described as living in wage slavery. The only place that anyone can truly be free is the border region between the two superpowers, which is directly controlled by neither. This borderland is known as the Rift, hence these outlaws on the fringes of society who cling to their freedom by moving back and forth around the Confederation/Dark Clown Empire border to evade detection are said to be tripping the Rift. The series follows one such group of outlaws led by Chode aboard the spaceship Bob, taking odd jobs and usually pursuing various get-rich-quick schemes. In 1997, Chris Muller, who was working on King of the Hill at the time and who had been producing animated shorts with Dark Bunny Productions, met Chuck Austin and pitched the idea for a science fiction comedy to animated studio Film Roman. In early 1998, they launched the first pilot, Love and Darth, on the internet. In 2002, Cine Group acquired the rights to the 5-minute short, Love and Darth, and approached animator Bernie Denk to direct the series, which was produced in association with Sci-Fi US. Bernie Denk's team worked in Montreal on pre-production, character design, modelling, textures, while both Montreal and Malaysian teams worked on animation, lighting and compositing. Keyframe animation was chosen for its quality and animating control capabilities. Anchor Bay released a 75-minute unrated Tripping the Rift, the movie, on DVD in March 2008. The story revolves around Chode's birthday party and the events that occur during it and after, all of which prompt his nemesis Darth Bobo to dispatch a time-travelling killer clown android to dispatch Chobe. The movie contains footage from the Season 3 episode Chode Razor, Skankenstein, Raiders of the Lost Croc of Expletive, and Witness Protection, with new bits of additional footage stitching them together into a loosely cohesive whole. While the movie was promoted as uncensored, only dialogue was left uncensored, with nudity still obscured by the censored balloons. Number 8 is Gravity Falls. It's okay for kids. Kids can watch it, it's fine. Technically, it is a kids' show. But it's also so much more than that. Gravity Falls was an American animated series produced by Disney Television, animated that first aired on the Disney Channel and later transitioned into Disney XD from June 2012 to February 2016. That is a 4-year space, but that's actually only 2 seasons. Created by Alex Hirsch, the series follows the adventures of Dipper Pines, voiced by Jason Ritter, and his twin sister Mabel, voiced by Kristen Schaal, who are sent to spend the summer with their great uncle, or grunkle, Stan, voiced by Hirsch himself. In a mysterious town full of paranormal forces and supernatural creatures, the kids help Stan run the Mystery Shack, the tourist trap that he owns and operates, while also investigating local mysteries for themselves. Hirsch first coined the concept for the show in an 11-minute low-budget student film, which he had made at the Californian Institute for Arts. Hirsch was called in to do a pitch for the Disney Channel for a show based on the short pilot. Disney Channel bought the idea and started airing the series in the summer of 2012. The series was inspired by Hirsch's experiences in childhood with his twin sister during their summer holidays. The show lasted only 2 seasons, but this was by design. The show is tied tightly with cryptograms and puzzles for the viewers to solve. Much to Hirsch's frustrations, no matter how hard he attempted to make the puzzles or hide clues, they were usually solved within the space of a few hours after the episode aired. If you're going to watch this programme after listening to this high amount of praise, have the wiki ready so that you can read up on the clues for each episode so you don't miss out on stuff. I managed to spot a few on my first rewatch for the first season, but then I felt really disappointed I hadn't seen it all. So went back through the wiki to get the stuff that I'd missed. So it's a good idea. Have the wiki open, watch an episode, read what the stuff was, and if you can have a go, try solving the clues and the cryptograms yourself. The finale of the show featured a statue of the show's villain, a real photo of the show's villain, which even it's an animated show. So enterprising fans figured out that this was a real life treasure hunt and went in search of the statue using clues from the show. When the statue was found, buried beside it was a giant treasure chest containing exclusive one-off merchandise for the show and other goodies, which they then later posted pictures of on the internet. So the plot of the show is, for the summer vacation, 12-year-old Dipper Pines and twin sister Mabel Pines are dropped off from their home in Piedmont, California, to the fictitious town of Gravity Falls, Roadkill County, Oregon, to live with their great-uncle Stan Pines, often started to Uncle Stan, who runs the tourist trap The Mystery Shack. Things are not what they seem, however, in this small town, and with the help of a mysterious journal that Dipper finds in the forest, they begin unravelling the local mysteries. With appearances from Wendy Corduroy, Mystery Shack cashier Sus Ramirez, friend of Dipper and Mabel, and handyman to Grunkle Stan, plus an assortment of other characters, Dipper and Mabel always have an intriguing day to look forward to. It's extremely important that you watch the episodes in order because it has a continuity and because of the clues and the cryptograms. If you get into the show, you'll probably also get into the idea of solving cryptograms, and it's a great show. It really is. Number 7 is Daria. It's okay for kids, but the younger ones won't understand it. It's certainly more of a teen show than a kid's show. Daria is an animated American television series created by Glenn Eschler and Susie Lewis for MTV. The series focuses on Daria Morgendorfer, a smart, acerbic and somewhat misanthropic teenage girl who observes the world around her. The show is set in the fictitious suburb American town of Lawndale and is a satire of high school life and full of allusions to and criticisms of popular culture and social classes. Daria was originally broadcast from 1997 to 2002, a spin-off of Mike Judge's earlier animated Beavis and Butthead series, in which Daria appeared as a recurring character. Although Judge agreed to release the character to allow her to appear in the spin-off, he had no involvement in the production of Daria. Daria's original design was created by Bill Peckman while working for J.J. Sedlmeyer Productions during Beavis and Butthead's first season. During production of Beavis and Butthead's final season, MTV representatives approached story editor Glenn Eschler, offering a spin-off series for Daria and a 5-minute pilot. Sealed with a Kick was created by Eschler and Beavis and Butthead staffer Susie Lewis, although written by Sam Johnson and Chris Marshy. MTV approved a series of 13 episodes. Both Eschler and Lewis were signed onto the series as executive producers. The first episode of Daria aired in March 1997, roughly 9 months before Beavis and Butthead ended its original run. Titled E-Seamsters, the episode established Daria and her family's move from the fictional Highland, the setting of Beavis and Butthead, due to uranium in the water, to the new series' equally fictional locale of Lawndale, as well as introducing Daria's parents and younger sister as principal supporting characters. The first episode also introduced Jane Lane, Daria's best friend and confidant. Other than a brief mention of Highland, Daria does not contain any references to Beavis and Butthead. The series ran for 5 seasons with 13 episodes each, and 2 TV movies were also produced. The first movie, Is It Fall Yet?, aired in 2000. MTV planned a 6-episode 6th season, but Eschler's request that this project was cut down to a second movie, Is It College Yet?, which served as a season finale in January 2002. Glenn Eschler said in an interview that Daria was intended to be a spoof on high school and that he didn't want a comfortable alternative world. We don't want anyone finding happiness, period, he said. The plot of Daria largely concerns juxtapositions between the central character's jaded, sardonic cynicism and the values/perceptions of her suburban American hometown of Lawndale. In a 2005 interview, series co-creator Eschler described the otherwise unspecified location as a mid-Atlantic suburb outside somewhere like Baltimore or Washington, but they could have lived in Pennsylvania near Main Lane. Set during Daria's high school years and ending with her graduation and acceptance into college, the principal location for the show outside of the Morgendorfer home is Lawndale High School, a public education institution operating at high dysfunction. The dynamics among the characters change during season 4 when Jane begins a relationship with Tom Sloan. Sorry for the sound drop there. I'll begin again. The dynamics among the characters change during the first season 4 when Jane begins a relationship with Tom Sloan, son of one of the town's richest families. Though Daria is hesitant to accept Tom at first, she and Tom find themselves becoming closer, culminating in a kiss in the season finale. The emotional and comedic toil among Jane, Tom and Daria was the centrepiece of the TV movie Is It Fall Yet?, and the relationship between Tom and Daria fueled several of season 5's stories. Next is Batman Assault on Arkham. This is definitely not for kids. Do not show this to your kids. This is not for kids. Only a bad parent would show this to their children. Batman Assault on Arkham is a 2014 direct-to-video animated superhero film that is part of the DCAU original movies. The film is set in the universe of the Batman Arkham video game franchise, occurring about 2 years before Arkham Asylum occurs. The story focuses primarily on the Suicide Squad, particularly Batman villains Deadshot and Harley Quinn, with Batman in a supporting role. In the film, a Suicide Squad of 6 criminals is dispatched by Amanda Waller to break into Arkham Asylum, where they must contend with the asylum's inmates and Batman as they attempt to complete their mission. The film stars Kevin Conroy as Batman/Bruce Wayne, reprising his role from Batman from the animated series, among numerous other DC properties, including the Arkham series. Neil McDonough as Deadshot/Clyde Lawton. You may know him as Damien Dark in the TV series Arrow, as well as Star Trek and many other properties as well, including Dum Dum Dugan in the Marvel 616 Captain America films. Hinton Walsh as Harley Quinn/Harleen Quinzel, who reprises her role from The Batman. Matthew Gray Gubler as Riddler/Edward Nygma, who you may know from Criminal Minds, in addition to Troy Baker, CCH Pounder, the one true only Amanda Waller, CCH Pounder, Nolan North, Martin Jarvis reprises his role of the Joker, Amanda Waller, Penguin/Oswald Cobblepot and Alfred Pennyworth from the Arkham Origins, with Nolan North and Jarvis appearing in Arkham City, whereas Jennifer Hill reprises the role of Killer Frost from the DCAU and other properties. In Gotham City, the Riddler has secret information on the top secret Task Force X that he threatens to make public. But before Amanda Waller can have him killed, he is captured by Batman. Now, with Riddler imprisoned in Arkham Asylum, Amanda Waller reassembles the Suicide Squad of captured supervillains with the mission to infiltrate the forensic mental hospital to retrieve Riddler's information. Led by Deadshot, this Black Ops team makes their way into the facility only to face complications from within, and without the team with secret agendas and double crosses all around. Meanwhile, Batman has his own concerns with an urgent search for the Joker's deadly bomb that threatens Gotham City. Eventually, all the players converge on Arkham Asylum for a showdown that few are going to escape alive. Indeed, this is a reminder, do not show this movie to kids. Characters literally have their heads blown up in this animated film. This is sort of what the Suicide Squad film should have been. Like, if you, like me, watched Suicide Squad and went, well, that was crap, watch Batman Assault on Arkham instead, unless, of course, you are a child, in which case, do not watch. Comments, queries, suggestions, you can email me, paulab@ignitionradio.co.uk, call the studio on 01642 329 620, or check out my website, airtimeofthegeek.xyz. Moving on, continuing the top 10 countdown of cartoons for grown-ups, we have number 5, Ren and Stimpy. I watched Ren and Stimpy as a kid. It was on a kids' channel, Nickelodeon. I would not probably allow, like, my niece and nephews to watch it. Probably not until they are 13, 14, because it probably should never have been made for kids, but for some reason, it was. Like, SpongeBob SquarePants has a lot to answer for, as for years it's been ripping off Ren and Stimpy style, but in a more colourful and kid-friendly nature, so that's allowed that to endure, whereas Ren and Stimpy was probably intended for a more adult audience. The Ren and Stimpy show is often referred to as just Ren and Stimpy. It was an American animated series created by John... I'm gonna attempt to pronounce his full name. His full name is Kricfalusi. I'm sure I'm butchering that. So I'm gonna just call him John K, because that's what he usually goes by. For Nickelodeon. He produced this for Nickelodeon. The series follows the adventures of the title character Ren, an emotionally unstable chihuahua, and Stimpy, a good-natured, dim-witted cat. Ren and Stimpy premiered in August 1991 as one of the original 3 Nicktoons, along with Rugrats and Doug, 2 awesome shows. Throughout its run, the show was controversial for its off-colour humour, sexual innuendo, dark humour, adult jokes and violence, which were rare for children animation at the time. This controversy contributed to the production of the staff's altercations with Nickelodeon's Standards and Practices Department. The show ended in December 1995 with a total of 5 seasons and 52 episodes. Ren and Stimpy received mixed to positive reviews during its original run, and then later widespread critical acclaim after its run had developed a cult following. The series is often cited as paving the way for shows like Beavis and Butthead and South Park, a spin-off for adult audiences called the Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon, aired in 2003 on Spike TV, but was cancelled soon after its debut. According to reports in 2016, the show's creator is developing a Ren and Stimpy short format cartoon that would screen alongside the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. So, won't be taking the kids to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. The series centres on Ren Hoek, originally voiced by John Kay in seasons 1 to 2, and then Billy West in seasons 3 to 5. A short-tempered asthma hound chihuahua, and Stimpson J. Cat, aka Stimpy, also voiced by Billy West, a 3-year-old dim-witted and happy-go-lucky cat. The duo fill various roles from episode to episode, including outer space explorers, Old West horse thieves, and nature show hosts, and are usually at odds with each other in these situations. When the show sometimes is set in the present day, the show's crew tended to avoid contemporary jokes about current events. The show extensively features off-colour humour, absurdist humour, and slapstick. The show features a host of supporting characters, some whom only appear in a single episode, while others are recurring, who occasionally appear in different roles, such as Powdered Toast Man. Some of the supporting characters factor directly into the storyline, while others make brief cameos. Other characters, such as Mr. Horse, are exclusively cameo-based, appearing in many episodes in scenes that have little bearing on the plot as a running gag. The immediate influence of the show was that the spawning of 2 clones, Hanna-Barbera's 2 Stupid Dogs, in which Spunko employees, including John Kay, had some limited involvement after the departure from Ren and Stimpy, and Disney's The Schnookums and Meat Funny cartoon show. Mike Judge directly credits MTV's willingness to commission Beavis and Butthead on the success of Ren and Stimpy on the network. Number 4 is Happy Tree Friends. Happy Tree Friends is not for kids. I repeat, it is not for kids. If you let kids watch Happy Tree Friends, you're not only a terrible parent, you're a terrible person. Happy Tree Friends is an American adult flash cartoon that was created and developed by Aubrey Ankrum, Rod Montijo, Ken Navarro, and Warren Graff for Mondo Media. The show is cited as an example of achieving a cult following. The action-adventure comedy is composed of simple drawings and juxtaposed cute forest animals with extremely graphic violence. Each episode revolves around the characters enduring accidental events of bloodshed, pain, dismemberment, evisceration, and or death. At one point, there was a warning given to the site, cartoon violence not recommended for small children or big babies. Happy Tree Friends features a variety of characters, each with varying appearance and personalities. However, almost all shared identical Pac-Man eyes, boot-shaped feet, buck teeth, and pink heart-shaped noses. I apologise for that. There was a small problem there. It was an emergency and I had to answer my phone. Let's start again for the sake of my lovely, lovely sound editor people. So, number 4, Happy Tree Friends. Continuing where I left off. Happy Tree Friends features a variety of characters, each with varying appearances and personalities. However, almost all share the identical Pac-Man eyes, boot-shaped feet, buck teeth, and a pink heart-shaped nose. Characters such as Cuddles, a yellow rabbit, Giggles, a pink chipmunk, Toothy, a mauve-coloured beaver, Disco Bear, a gold-orange bear, Flaky, a red porcupine, Flippy, a green army veteran bear, Handy, an orange beaver with amputated hands, Lammy, a purple sheep, etc. While working on Mondo Media, Rod Montijo drew on a piece of scrap paper a character that would later become Shifty. He then drew on a spreadsheet poster a yellow rabbit that bore some resemblance to Cuddles and wrote "Resistance is futile" underneath. Rod hung the drawing up in his workstation so other people could see his idea, and eventually the idea was pitched and accepted by the Mondo Media executives. In 1997, Mondo gave the group a chance to do a short film for them, and they came up with the name Banjo Frenzy, which featured a dinosaur, an early version of Lumpy, killing 3 woodland animals, a rabbit, a squirrel, and a beaver, early versions of Cuddles, Giggles, and Toothy, with a banjo. From there, Mondo gave them their own internet series, which they named Happy Tree Friends. After its internet debut in 1999, Happy Tree Friends became an unexpected success, gaining over 15 million hits each month. Encouraged by the show's success, its creators now have released 4 DVDs, First Blood, Second Serving, Third Strike and Winter Break, containing episodes of the show on the website and others that had not been released. A collection consisting of the first 3 DVDs and a 5-episode bonus, Overkill, also has been released. 2 episodes, Stealing the Spotlight and Ski You Wouldn't Want to Be Ya, were only originally available in the Happy Tree Friends Winter Break DVD, but are now available on YouTube and the Happy Tree Friends website. Happy Tree Friends, the television series, was first shown at Comic-Con in 2006, and some of the episodes were shown on the website a few weeks prior. The show's television premiere in September 2006 at midnight on the G4 network. Web episodes of Happy Tree Friends were also aired on the network's animated anthology series Happy Tree Friends and Friends and G4's Late Night Peep Show. I first encountered Happy Tree Friends on a link to the website Newgrounds, which at the time, this was a pre-YouTube era, so there wasn't any video hosting websites, and if you had Flash Animation, this was the place to have it advertised. It's largely now a dead website. So I went over to the website and watched a couple of the Flash cartoons and ended up ordering a video, that's right, a VHS of the show, which I would then show to everyone who came to my house who had never heard of Happy Tree Friends. It's absolutely not for children, even though if you weren't paying attention, it would look like a children's cartoon. One episode involves a character becoming blind by having their eyeball knocked out, and another character who can't see starts slicing it up like it's a lemon and puts it in a drink and makes like lemonade out of eyeballs. I'm not even joking. That's what happens in one episode. Yeah. If you've not seen it and you're an adult, have a look on YouTube. It's an experience. Number 3 is Archer. Archer is not for children. Not in the same way that some of the other ones I've mentioned aren't, but it's not for kids. Archer is an American adult spy comedy television series created by Adam Reed for the FX network. The pilot episode of the series aired as a sneak peek in September 2009 before the show made its official debut in January 2010. On June 2016, FX renewed the series for an 8th, 9th and 10th season, each to consist of 8 episodes. Working for the International Secret Intelligence Service, aka ISIS, oh yeah, ISIS, in New York City, suave, professional, self-centered spy master Sterling Archer deals with global espionage as well as domineering, emotionally distant mother boss Mallory Archer. Fellow ISIS agent and ex-girlfriend Lana Kane and ISIS employees Ray Gillette, Cyril Figgis, Pam Poovey, Cheryl Tunt and Dr. Algernon Krieger. Sterling Mallory Archer, simply referred to as Archer by most characters besides his mother who calls him Sterling, is voiced by H. John Benjamin, aka Bob's Burgers. He is considered the world's most dangerous secret agent, comparable to James Bond. He's extremely egotistical, self-involved, and usually doesn't take any situation seriously. Though he shows proficiency in stereotypical spy skills, such as weapons, driving, and martial arts, his primary interest in the job is the opportunity to enjoy a jet-setting lifestyle full of sex, alcohol, thrills, lacrosse, fast cars, designer clothes, and spy gadgets. His obsessions include Burt Reynolds, Kenny Loggins, and big cats such as tigers and ocelots. Archer's favourite catchphrase includes exclaiming, "Phrasing," which he utters when something inadvertently says that could be construed as sexual. Do you not? I had something for this when he is searching his mind for a pun or an insulting nickname. And danger zone, said in expected situations. Despite his gross negligence, incompetence and willful ignorance, Archer is usually successful to some degree in most of his endeavours, though sometimes due to blind luck he possesses an encyclopedic knowledge of pop culture and literature, but peppers his speech with esoteric references and also has a fear of brain aneurysms, alligators and crocodiles, because they're actually different animals. Number 2 is South Park. Minimum age should be 12, 13 years old. No kids. I covered South Park more or less in my big South Park special. If you don't know not to show it to kids yet, then what's wrong with you? And my number 1 choice is Monkey Dust. Not for children in any way, shape or form, not even like 12, 13-year-olds. No. A long time ago, there was a show, and that show was Monkey Dust. Monkey Dust is a British satirical cartoon, notorious for its dark humour and handling of taboo topics such as bestiality, murder, suicide and paedophilia. There were 3 series broadcast on BBC 3 between 2003 and 2005. Following co-creator Harry Thompson's death, no further series were made. Each episode features animation by several different companies, including Slinky Pictures, Nexus Productions, Sherbet Animation, Caroline Maybe, Picasso Pictures and Voodoo Dog, but is linked by recurring themes and jokes, and by seamless transitions between sketches. The episodes are untitled, but instead are known by the characters introduced or one-off sketches included. The principal writers and creators of the series were Harry Thompson and Sean Pye, although contributors were responsible for a significant proportion of the work, sometimes collaborating with Thompson and or Pye, and sometimes contributing fully formed sketches to the show. A short overview of the main characters called A Nocturne, set in various characters' bedrooms with no dialogue and a depressing accompanying song, usually precedes the final section. Some of the most notable characters were Clive Pringle. In each episode, Clive walks slowly through the city back home, which is located in a tower block of high-rise flats. He arrives home sometimes hours, days, months or years late, and when questioned by his wife as to his whereabouts, his excuses swiftly collapse into the plots of well-known fiction. Examples include The Lord of the Rings, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Dune 24, a specific episode of the A-Team and the nursery rhyme Humpty Dumpty, the song California by the Eagles, and even the Bible, which his wife stops him on because she knows he will recite the whole Bible to her. When his long-suffering wife coolly points out his often plagiarism, Clive is forced to reveal his actual whereabouts. This usually involves something sexually degrading, such as bestiality on S&M, and even one memorable occasion, prior to being humiliated, his desperate catchphrase is, "And that, darling, is what really happened." As the series progresses, his wife eventually reaches the point where she cuts him short in one episode. She is due to meet her friend Janice in 5 minutes. And in another, she cuts him off as he is about to reveal a spoiler for the next episode of 24, which she hasn't seen yet. In one, as soon as Clive arrives, she barks out, "Excuse, Clive, I got lost on the common." Theme, Scott's Polar Expedition, 1910 to 1912. Reality, I was getting tag-shagged in a pub toilet. At one point, Clive is abducted by aliens who cover him in lipstick marks and beer. When Clive says he has to go home, the aliens tell him to say exactly what happened. Unfortunately, because Clive is like the boy who cried wolf, he replies, "Actually, I haven't got that good of a track record." In the final Liar Clive skit, she has actually left him, and it is revealed he is delivering his pathetic excuses to only himself in a mirror, meaning he can finally smile ironically and conclude, "I knew you would believe me." Liar Clive skits are always prefaced by him walking home at night to the sound of Lovely Head. Then there is one of my personal favourites, Ivan Dobsky. Directed and designed by British animator/illustrator Sean May, Ivan Dobsky is supposedly a notorious criminal known as the Meat-Safe Murderer. Held in custody in the high-security HM prison Crowmarsh after its destruction at Ivan's hand at the end of Series 1, new Crowmarsh PLC high-security prison is built. Despite his repeated protests that he never done it, and his confession has been coerced by various means of police torture and brutality, he was convicted for killing a typist at a meat safe in 1974 by strangling her with a pair of ladies' pants. Dobsky bears more than a passing resemblance to the case of wrongly convicted Stefan Kisko. Dobsky has the mental age of a 4-year-old and speaks in a soft, flowing Carlisle accent, and generally gives the impression of being a completely harmless simpleton. However, the prison wardens describe him as being the most dangerous man in the Western Hemisphere, and keep him in strict confinement, restrained by methods very similar to those used for Hannibal Lecter in the film of The Silence of the Lambs. Early episodes depict him as being pardoned and released when DNA evidence exonerates him come to light. During his time in custody, he had been oblivious to the changes taking place in the world outside the prison walls, and thus when he attempts to rejoin society, he appears as a throwback to the 1970s. He joyfully rides out of the prison on a space hopper called Mr. Hoppy to the music Come by Eddie Warner, only to find things have changed too much for him to understand. After deciding he'd rather be in prison than face the modern world, he actually ends up committing a murder to be reincarnated. Typically, a sketch would go like this. Hello, I'm Ivan Dobsky. I'm the meat-safe murderer, though I never done it. There's a man called DNA, and he knows I never done it. Mr. Hoppy seems to have a mind of his own, and he carries on 2 conversations with Dobsky, and often encourages him into violent action. The 2 characters are implied to represent different manifestations of multiple personality disorder, in which Dobsky is an unwitting innocent and Mr. Hoppy is a sociopathic monster. For the most part, Dobsky is able to successfully remain in control until the conclusion of the first series ends, with his mind snapping and him dismembering prison staff to construct a horrific space hopper made from bits of their bodies, on which he rides to the freedom to the music of Sunrise by Pulp. In the second series, Ivan marries a prison visitor who then becomes the subject of Mr. Hoppy's jealousy and is brutally murdered. Many celebrities appeared to campaign for the freedom from the prison, including Brad Pitt, hired to play Ivan in a Hollywood movie, Billy Bragg, Jeremy Hardy, Manic Street Preachers, Bono and Nelson Mandela. In the first episode of Series 3, Mr. Drummond, the prison superintendent and Dobsky's chief caretaker, becomes enraged at the factual inaccuracies pertaining to him in the film's version of Dobsky's life and joins Ivan and Mr. Hoppy in a murderous rampage. Typically, Ivan Dobsky, the meat-safe murderer, would protest his innocence by saying such things as, I never done it. I only said they'd done it so they'd take me scrotum out of a vice. Continuing with the monkey dust rundown, because there's a few, I really want to talk about it. Divorced dad with Timmy. Timmy usually lives with his mother and Roger, his mum's new boyfriend. Each week, Timmy comes to visit his dad, but always just ends up talking about what Roger has done for him. The dad doesn't feel like he can oppress him and ends up committing suicide each week. As he goes off to kill himself, Timmy, who is in reality deeply fond of his dad, reveals the truth too late. Roger remains an unseen character until the 4th episode, when Timmy shows his father a photo of him, revealing he looks like an older version of Timmy himself, complete with ginger hair. Realising the truth, Timmy's father decides not to kill himself, but to be a good father to Timmy anyway. In the last episode featuring these characters, the divorced dad is enthusiastic about a forthcoming visit from Timmy because they haven't seen each other since Timmy and his mother moved to Newcastle several years previously. But on discovering that a now teenage Timmy has begun to dress, talk and act like a Geordie in order to fit in with the local kids, his father commits suicide for the final time out of sheer desperation. This turns out to be just Timmy showing off and in fact longs for things how they used to be. Alas, too late as always. There's Omar, Abdul and Shafiq, the incompetent terrorists. Before Four Lions, there were these guys. Omar, a former privileged public schoolboy in a fanatical Islamist and member of the terrorist organisation he calls the International Revolutionary Jihad for the Liberation of the Islamic Republic of Great Britain. His cell is based in West Bromwich, in the West Midlands in the UK, and is bent on unleashing a reign of terror the likes of which the world has only dreamed about in its foulest nightmares. Omar has recruited 2 teenage boys, Abdul and Shafiq, to carry out suicide bombings in the name of Allah, but through various comical misadventures their plans always fail. The effectiveness of their terror campaign is somewhat undermined by the fact that Abdul and Shafiq seem to take their jihad for granted and treat it with the same offhandedness as the mundane details of their day-to-day lives, such as sport with their beloved West Bromwich Albion FC, and television, such shows as Room 101 and Celebrity Stars in their eyes, and also become Abdul and Shafiq and Omar to a lesser degree are so much a part of Western culture and lifestyles that they are attempting to defeat. Omar suffers much from this, but reveals often he too finds the fate of West Bromwich Albion just to be a serious matter as a liberation as anyone, and just as likely to dictate when and how his terrorist attacks must take place, usually in order to avoid missing a game. As the series progressed, it became more and more apparent that Omar was just as immature and insincere for his hatred of the West as his 2 underlings, and this was highlighted by the introduction of one of his superiors in a later episode, during which the instruction was to come under cover of the darkness, which was misinterpreted, resulting in the Islamic Revolutionary Jihad for the Liberation of the Islamic Republic of Great Britain arriving dressed as the British rock group The Darkness. It is possible for the inspiration for this depiction of radical Islamic ideology in the midst of otherwise normal modern British life comes from the detention of so-called Tipton 3 at Camp X-Ray. In Monkey Dust sketches, Omar, the ringleader, is said to come from Tipton, where the jihad is taken dead serious there. Then there are the movie parodies. Several movie parodies are featured in the series. These are typically satirised big-budget Hollywoods with tropes tending to malign the British, particularly wildly inaccurate historical films such as U571 and The Patriot, the Americanisation of British heroes or stories such as Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the casting of British actors or the use of an English accent in the role of the antagonist, e.g. Patrick Stewart in Conspiracy Theory. Examples include the Diary of Anne Frank in Series 1. Anne's merry band of Irish Jews is brutally captured and terrified by the English-accented Nazi soldiers of the British Reich, and are held in a large castle in Berlin, England. They are rescued by Anne's GI boyfriend, Johnny, who bursts in and skewers Hitler with a US flag, a present from President Churchill. Then there is The Crusades, a Jerry Brickhammer production in Season 2. A bunch of American-accented crusaders trained to join the 42nd Horseborne Brigade. Sample line, "Say, laddin, you English be." Ending line, "in honour of all Americans who died in the early Middle Ages." Then there's They All Came Home in Season 3, an American Special Forces unit, the Laser Rangers, save a pilot who has crashed behind enemy lines in Freeville, the capital of Bongostan, and in an overly aggressive manner. Despite the fact that the locals are clearly friendly and offer to repair the Rangers' broken helicopter, they torture a woman to make them tell her where the airport is, even though it's right behind them and she's already freely offering the information. That was my top 10. If you're catching up on YouTube, then please like and subscribe to this video and our channel. With all of the scary Trump happenings in America, many commentators have said that America could be heading for a second civil war, which strangely would put it right on track for the movie Barbed Wire, which is set in 2017 after the Second American Civil War. Barbed Wire stars Pamela Anderson, and the movie is a remake of the movie Casablanca. Yes, that Casablanca. Barbed Wire, Pamela Anderson, owns the Hammerhead, a nightclub in Steel Harbour, the last free city in the United States ravaged by the Civil War, and she brings in extra cash working as a mercenary and a bounty hunter. Police Chief Willis raids her club. Willis's target is fugitive Dr. Karina Cora D. Devonshire, a former government scientist with information about a bioweapon being developed by a former superior, Colonel Pizer of the Congressional Directorate. Dr. Devonshire hopes to escape to Canada in order to make this information public. Devonshire later turns up at the Hammerhead. She is accompanied by Axel Hood, a freedom fighter whom Barb had known and loved at the outbreak of the war, but they were separated during the conflict. Axel is trying to help Cora get to Canada, and they are trying to find a pair of contraband contact lenses that will allow Cora to evade the retinal scan of the Steel Harbour airport. The lenses pass through the hands of several low-flies before ending up at Barb's nightclub. Rather than give the lenses to Cora and Axel, Barb makes a deal with Big Fatso, the leader of a junkyard gang. Fatso wants the lenses, which are worth a fortune on the black market, and Barb wants $1 million and an armed escort to the airport, where she plans to get on the plane to Canada. But Fatso double-crosses Barb. When Barb, Axel and Cora show up at the junkyard to make the swap, Colonel Pizer and his stormtroopers are there, along with Chief Police Willis. Willis makes a show of arresting Barb and Cora, but instead of putting handcuffs on Barb, he slips her a hand grenade. Barbara uses the hand grenade to kill Fatso and cause enough confusion to allow Barb, Axel, Cora and Willis to pile into Barb's armoured van and lead the Congressionals on a car chase, culminating in a hand-to-hand fight between Barb and Colonel Pizer on a forklift suspended by a crane above the harbour. Pizer falls to his death while Barb escapes. In the end, the party makes it to the airport, where Barb reveals that she had the contact lenses and she gives them to Cora. Cora and Axel get on the plane to Canada, whereas Willis and Barb remain on the rain-swept tarmac. The film has not achieved the same cult status as other bad movies, perhaps not being camp enough or Anderson's acting skills or lack thereof. Anderson had previously backed out of the movie Miami Hustle in '96, a movie that she had already given the physical examination in preparation for, before starring in this film. She had given her reason as no longer wanting to do sex scenes after her horrible experience on the set of Good Cop, Bad Cop. However, an attorney for the production company, the private movie company, pointed out that she later participated in twice as graphic sex scenes in Naked Souls and really just wanted to do a bigger budget, higher profile movie like this instead. The judge ultimately ruled against the private movie company. All I'm basically saying is, if war looks like it's coming to America, someone get Pamela Anderson out of there before everything goes down wrong. I had no desire to see any of those people, and I didn't have a boyfriend or a good job, and therefore I felt it filled at life. Romy White, played by Mira Savino, and Michelle Weinberger, played by Lisa Kudrow, are two friends living together in a beach apartment in Los Angeles, California. Romy works as a cashier in the service department of a Jaguar dealership, and Michelle is unemployed. They are both single and unambitious. Romy encounters a former high school classmate, Heather Mooney, played by Janae Garofalo, who informs Romy about their upcoming 10-year high school reunion back in Tucson, Arizona. At first excited at the prospect of attending, Romy then has the realization that they will not be able to make a good impression at the reunion due to them having no boyfriends and not good jobs. Desperate to impress their former classmates, Romy and Michelle make last-ditch attempts to improve themselves to avoid the bullying they endured, mostly at the hands of the A group led by cheerleader Christy Masters. In a series of flashbacks from 1987, Romy and Michelle's suffering is revealed. Christy attaches magnets to Michelle's back brace and once took a bite out of the burger Romy was eating and then stole the whole thing. Christy is humiliates them once again at the prom, telling Romy that her handsome jock boyfriend Billy Christensen was in love with Romy and they have now broken up. Christy tells Romy to wait for a dance with Billy, and then Christy and Billy ride away together, unbeknownst to Romy, who patiently waits all night long for the dance with Billy. In tears, Romy dances with Michelle in a depressed state. Failing in their attempts to get jobs and boyfriends, Romy and Michelle simply decide to pretend that they've been much more successful by showing up in an expensive car and business suits. Romy obtains a nice car from the Jaguar dealership, borrowing it from one of her workmates, and Michelle makes their outfits. On their way to the reunion, after making the realisation that they had not thought of what kind of business they were in, they decide to claim they invented post-its, reasoning that their true origins are obscure. Romy wants to state it was her idea to invent the post-its, and Michelle's main contribution was deciding that it should be yellow, which Michelle takes as an insult to her intelligence. This leads to a further argument about who's the cuter of the two. The argument results in their decision to go their separate ways once they reach the destination. When they arrive, Michelle hears Romy saying that she invented post-its all by herself. Michelle convinces the A group girls that she invented a special kind of glue, explaining that the glue's complicated formula in great detail. Sandy Frink, played by Alan Cumming, the nerd who had a crush on Michelle in high school, turns out to be incredibly wealthy and gorgeous and hits on Michelle, while Billy and Romy reunite and hit it off. Both Romy and Michelle win awards as the most successful members of their graduating class. Though still refusing to speak to each other, they look back at each other with longing. 70 years later, an elderly Michelle learns that Romy is on a deathbed, so she calls to make amends. However, they rehash the same argument. Romy dies, flipping the bird, and they never get a chance to resolve their issues. But that's all a dream. Michelle wakes up in a car alone in the present day, disturbed by the previous dream sequence, and at the reunion, Romy begins to spread her story. Heather Mooney disrupts their lie by revealing the real name of the person who did in fact invent post-it notes, something Heather learned in business school. The A group girls become a vicious verbal attack on Romy, and Michelle ineptly defends her. Christy further humiliates the two in front of everyone by revealing Romy's lie, and Romy runs out with Michelle chasing after her. Michelle tells Romy that she genuinely thought their lives were wonderful just the way they were before Romy said that they weren't good enough, and Michelle says that they should not care what everyone else thinks. They change into fun, stylish outfits they designed and made themselves and return to the reunion, determined to have fun at any cost. They confront Christy about her bullying, and Romy says she no longer cares about Christy because she is just a bad person with an ugly heart. Christy makes fun of their clothes, and former classmate Lisa Luda, an ex-member of the A group, who has since become a fashion editor for Vogue, sees things differently and announces that the outfits are actually very well made and overall not bad. Christy begins to attack Lisa, but Lisa coolly dismisses her in front of the crowd that has begun to watch, and the other A group girls defect, and Christy is left by herself, while everyone else makes their way over to congratulate Romy and Michelle. Heather apologises to Romy and Michelle, telling them both that the two had actually made her unhappy in high school, for she had been in love with Sandy. Romy and Michelle then make her feel better by saying that she too had the luxury of making someone feeling miserable, referencing former classmate and reunion committee head Toby Walters, to whom Heather was always cruel in high school. Sandy Frink then arrives via helicopter. He turns out to be a billionaire who made a fortune from inventing a special kind of shoe rubber. He goes over to Romy and Michelle tells Sandy that he must be the most successful person in their class, and Sandy responds that despite all the wealth and success he has, the one thing he doesn't have is her, and asks her to dance. Michelle agrees on the condition that Romy can dance with them. After an interpretive dance to Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time that receives huge applause, Sandy then escorts them to his helicopter. Heather walks out, not interested in the new Sandy. While smoking, she encounters a mysterious classmate dressed as a cowboy, played by Justin Theroux. Heather remembers that in high school he would often offer to light a cigarette by silently flicking the lit cigarette butts at her. This time, Heather demands that he talk to her. The cowboy lights a cigarette with a lighter and apologises for his previous behaviour, saying that he suffered from a bad speech impediment in high school. Romy and Michelle leave with Sandy, and on their way out they encounter Billy Christensen, who is now Christy's husband. He is an alcoholic, living a miserable life with Christy and unsure if he's the father of her latest pregnancy. When he propositions Romy, she tells him to go to the hotel room, get undressed and wait for her. He excitedly shuffles off and Romy laughs, having settled finally the score with Billy. They board the helicopter and see Heather down below amongst some bushes making out with the cowboy. 6 months later, back in LA, Romy and Michelle use the money loaned to them by Sandy to open up their own fashion boutique. Heather stays in touch and has become friends with the girls, even shopping in their store, and finally get an outfit that is not all black. The film is wonderful. It's impossible to hate. It's too happy a film, and the girls too nicer characters. It's a true classic. And I'm really sad that it's turning 20 this year because it makes me feel so old. I was like 14 when this movie first came out, and now I'm 33. Because I'm turning 34 this year, but I'm 33 now. So yeah, depressing. So that was my retrospective look at the 20th anniversary for Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Further shows as we continue into this new year, we'll also be taking a look at things turning 20, things turning 30, and things set in 2017. If you'd like to make any comments, queries or suggestions, you can email me. It's paulab@ignitionradio.co.uk. You can call the studio on 01642 329 620 or check out my website, airtimeofthegeek.xyz. Thanks for everything, and I will see you all on Friday for the Super Awesome Show.